Thanks for staying with us. University of Pretoria students staged a demonstration this week in protest against planned registration fee hikes for both undergraduate and postgraduate students in the 2023-24 financial years. These fees for South African undergrad students will reportedly go up from 5,000 Rand this year to 7,500 Rand next year and 10,000 Rand in 2024, while international undergraduates may have to fork out up to 40,000 Rand. The university says its proposed increases have been misunderstood. Joining us now to explain the situation at the institution is the University of Pretoria SRC President Thuto Nthabeleng Mashila. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. The University of Pretoria says there has been some form of misunderstanding. Would you agree?
Yes, good evening to the viewership, and thank you for the platform. So my name is Thuto Mashila, as you said, the SRC, the UP SRC president, and currently right now what's happening at the University of Pretoria is that we are having, as the SRC, the past week we had a shutdown against the decision that has been implemented by the executive of the institution to increase fees by 2,500 for undergraduate students and by 2,500 also for postgraduate students, and then international students are expected to pay, undergrad international students are expected to pay 40,000 Rand rather, upfront, and then international postgraduate students are expected to pay 50% of their tuition upfront. So as the SRC, we have engaged management through meetings, through emails. We've even submitted suggestions and proposal. However, the executive of the institutions stands, and they still say that they maintain their stance of keeping the registration fees for next year at the rate that they decided to. So as the SRC and the students of the University of Pretoria, we're basically saying that we cannot let things function as normal. We're rejecting this decision, and we want the executive of the institution to reverse this decision that they've taken.
How has the University of Pretoria reacted to your demands and your protest action?
So we had a mass meeting on Monday, and that's where we collectively decided with the students that we want a shutdown. So shutdown is boycott of classes, and that nothing can function or be as normal. But however, the institution still maintained, and lecturers still maintained that students should attend classes despite the action or the protest action that that some students decided to partake in. The university still maintained that students should still attend classes. So right now, currently, we have 7 SRC members that have been suspended because of this protest action that has been happening at the university.
So as I read some of the responses coming from the university here, it says that the increase will be the first since 2016, and it still meant that the first payment would be lower than most universities, and also saying the increase will not affect all students, saying that those funded by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme and those who are funded by external sponsors are not required to make the first payment. Was that your understanding?
Yes, in as much as, so we have 20% of the students at the University of Pretoria are funded by NSFAS. So that's about 12,000 to 13,000 students. However, there is a problem with NSFAS because NSFAS takes time to confirm the students that they'll be funding. So NSFAS will probably respond in March. They'll send confirmation of who they're funding in March. However, registration happens in February. So you find that most of these students cannot register until maybe the SRC reaches some form of compromise with management to say, okay, if students don't have a debt of, let's say, 10,000 Rand, they can register. But also another issue or focus point that needs to be looked at is the missing middle students. So about 60% of students at the University of Pretoria do not qualify for NSFAS because they are too rich for NSFAS. However, they're too poor to afford registration fees. And the threshold of NSFAS is 350,000 Rand household income per annum. What about those students whose parents earn 2,000 Rands, above 350,000 Rands? Those students are students that the university didn't think about when they were making such a decision, because these are the very same students with that can't even afford the 5,000 rands that the university is currently charging at the moment. So the missing middle are the students that the university is currently not thinking about at the moment, and this is going to affect them. And this is 60% of students at the University of Pretoria the most. And also another issue that is not taking into cognizance is the fact that NSFAS has policies that exclude students. So this year, there was the whole N+1 situation where some students got unfunded. So there are uncertainties also because NSFAS also doesn't have money, and also with the unfunding of certain degrees as years go on. So there's uncertainty with NSFAS, there's uncertainty with bursaries, and as the SRC and students of the University of Pretoria, we simply feel that this decision doesn't take into consideration those students who have financial uncertainties.
Yeah. So are these increases based on a monthly amount, or is it a yearly amount that will be increased? And also, the university has also spoken about how it has financial support measures in place. What does that refer to?
Okay, so the university has financial support systems in place. This is through the university's financial aid office. However, the financial aid office does not pay for registration fee. So students have to essentially pay for the registration fee. The SRC also has what we call the study aid fund, where we assist students with paying registration fees at the beginning of the year. However, that budget is very, very limited, that we can't even assist 10% of the student population on campus. So essentially, all of the measures that are in place are not enough. Yes, there are financial arrangements, but for someone to make a financial arrangement, let's say a student that has a debt, they have to pay 50% of their debt to make a financial arrangement in order to register. And also the financial support structures in place. We have loans also at the institution. About 200 to 300 students have taken loans this year to be able to register. However, we have about 2,022 students this year that simply couldn't register because they have a debt and they couldn't afford the registration fee. So despite all the financial structures in place, they're simply not enough to cater for this 60% of the missing middle, and some of these NSFAS students that there's uncertainty about because of how late NSFAS confirms their funding.
Yeah. Well, with the 7 SRC members having since been suspended by the university, how are you going to take this matter forward? What's next? Okay,
so there was a meeting or hearing today with those 7 SRC members, and it was agreed that the executive of the university will go back to the drawing board with the SRC, will sit down, will negotiate again, and hopefully come with reach a compromise for both between the executive and the SRC, reach a compromise in terms of the percentage increment of the registration fee. So we are still awaiting a date on when that actual sitting is going to be between the SRC and the management of the university. However, the SRC members are still suspended, so these SRC members are not allowed on UP premises, and they were given a notice to vacate UP residences if they stay at UP managed residences. So that's where we currently are with the 7 suspended SRC members.
And what would a satisfactory, compromise look like?
So with the engagements that we had with the executive of the institution, the SRC had suggested a 10% increment, because we know that essentially we can't say zero because there are financial difficulties for the university, and for the university to continue functioning, there has to be some form of cash flow coming in. We had suggested a 10% increment that will sort of flow out into the other years again. So maybe 10% this year, skip a year, and 10% the other year. However, the university still maintained their stance of 50%. But the thing is, it's 100% in a space of 2 years, because undergraduate students have to pay 7,500 in 2023 and 10,000 rands in 2024. And as the SRC was saying, that it cannot be, because the rate at which the institution wants to increase registration simply doesn't make sense. We have asked for reasons, and the answer that we get is inflation. Take us through how we reached an increase of 100% increment, registration fee increment within the space of 2 years for undergraduates, and 66% within the space of 2 years for postgraduate students. The answer that we're getting is inflation, and it's simply not enough. It doesn't make financial sense. Rather, a gradual increase than a steep increase, because students simply cannot afford that. Students at the moment are suffering. They cannot even afford the 5,000 that undergraduates are currently paying. They cannot afford the 7,500 that postgraduates are currently paying. Plus the money that international students have to pay. There are visas involved, there are medical aid involved, and some live in private accommodations where they want to rent up front because maybe they don't have space in UP managed residences. So all we're asking for is for a gradual registration fee increments, and not a steep registration fee increments, because it simply doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So with the discussions taking place, or with some form of communication between SRC and management at the University of Pretoria, does this mean that the protest action is over for now, or will it continue?
So because the SRC members are suspended and they were leading this protest, right now there's nothing that's going to be happening until the outcome of the disciplinary processes that are going to be happening. But we are hoping for the sitting to happen in the beginning of the week. I think from next week on, classes will proceed as normal, but we're hoping for the sitting to happen because students are anxious. Everybody's anxious. We've been waiting on a decision, and we feel that it's about time that everything goes back to normal, because essentially we cannot fall behind with the academic calendar. Students need to at least finish their academic year within 2022 this year, and not find themselves being excluded and having to appeal in January next year. So we're hoping for a positive outcome and for everything to at least happen in the beginning of the week, Monday or Tuesday, somewhere there.
Very well. Let's leave it there for now. Thank you for your time. University of Pretoria SRC President Thuto Nthabeleng Mashila speaking to some of the problems at the campus there, saying that they're hoping to find a speedy solution, and conversations continuing, talks to avert the steep increases continuing next week. As